Hey guys, hello and welcome to Bardock Gaming Tutorial Series. Over the last several weeks, I've had a lot of people ask me how to get their spawning issues with like the teleporter rift and using the mutator zone and stuff. And they've had a lot of issues with that, so we're going to go ahead and touch base with a little bit on that in this video. So the several things you're going to need. You're going to need first, you're going to need obviously the mutator zone itself, which is this little green looking thing. I already dragged one down here. You're going to need a teleporter rift, which is just a teleporter device. It looks like this right here. You're going to need a timer device, which looks like the little clock. And I'm also going to cover the item granter too, so you can get items granted upon spawning. And that looks like this right here. So after you got those items, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to drop your mutator zone. Right there, a little green box. And we're going to edit that real quick so you can just mess with the size. Make sure you label the things as you want so it's easier to find later. So I'm just going to call it the pregame mutator. These are very handy for lots of different things, but for this particular video I'm going to show you how to just teleport everything that's inside it. So we're just going to modify the size of it a little bit. So I'm just going to make it like a 5x5, I think. And it doesn't matter how tall it is. Width is how wide it is, depth is how long it is, and the height is how high it is. So with a 5x5, we have this little flat looking box thing. Okay. So now we got that set up. We're going to set up a timer device. I'm just going to set that right there. It looks great. Come in here and edit that. Call that the pregame timer. And I don't want it for that. I'm going to set it for like 3 seconds. And countdown, start at game start, set to on. That's important for your pregame one. Okay, so we got that set up. And then we're going to set up a teleporter rift. And we're going to set it just kind of off in the distance a little bit. Okay. Come in here and edit that. Call that the pregame teleporter. Okay, the teleporter group, it's not going to have a group of its own. And actually, it's not going to have a target group for this particular one either. The teleporter rift visible. Whenever you have it set to the actual game, you probably want this turned off. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on. There's a lot more settings under this too. Actually, we need to go in here. Enable during phase. Yes. If you want one team to spawn in one place and another team to spawn in a different place, you'll have this as whatever teams you want. So if you want team 1 to spawn like in a prop hunt where you want one team to spawn inside the prop area and hide, you'll have one team like this, and then the other team will spawn like a hunter's waiting area to do that. But for now, I'm just going to leave that to all. I'm not going to mess with any of this for the purpose of this video. So what we're going to do, we're going to come in here. Pretty important to make sure that this enable on phase is turned to none. We don't want it to always be on. We want to turn it on. So make sure that this is set to none, because if you have it always on or pregame only or any of this, it won't do anything. So make sure that it is set to none. And you want to trigger it with the timer device that we made. So we're going to come over here. You can either go to the mutator zone and have a receive trigger from the timer device, or you can go directly to the timer device and put it as an output trigger to the mutator zone. So on success, we're going to send an event to that pregame mutator we just made, and we're going to enable it. Alright. And then we'll go to this pregame. Oh, that's the spawner. Don't want that. There we go. And on the pregame mutator, we're going to send an event on player entering zone to the teleporter rift. And we're going to pick teleport. Okay, so now we have a couple triggers. So when the game starts, this little 3-second timer will count down, and then the mutator zone will turn on. And then the mutator zone turns on, it'll trigger everybody that's inside that green area to teleport to this spot over here. We're going to make sure that works all nice and good. You won't be able to see the mutator zone. It's obviously invisible. So just you'll either have to keep your players inside with a barrier device or whatever. See, look at that work. Excellent. So you have to keep your players inside of the barrier device or like a wall that can't be destroyed or something like that, because if they wander outside of it, I'll show you what happens if they wander outside of it. Let's just start another game real quick. If I can run outside in 3 seconds, which I should be able to. So if I'm out here and that timer counts down, nothing. But now since it's activated, when I walk in it, it'll teleport me. So anytime I walk inside that zone, wherever it's at, it'll teleport me. Okay. So that's a quick way to get your players to teleport. So if I was to create a barrier device inside that green zone, just make sure that the green zone fully encapsulates whatever you have. If you make, even if there's a tiny little spot where somebody could stand that's outside of this green area, they will not be teleported. So just make sure that everyone you want to teleport is inside this green box. Okay, so now we got that covered. We're going to cover the item spawner a little bit, or item granter, I'm sorry. So we're going to go ahead and drop the item granter. Come on. There we go. So this is very handy for prop hunts, or pretty much anything really, but for prop hunts especially, to give different players different items. And you're going to need one item granter per team that you wish to give items to, if you want them to have different weapons. So you can come in here. Enabled is fine. You want it always enabled. That just means it's ready to give stuff. It doesn't mean it's giving something yet, because when you'll go to the grant, you mess up the other stuff later. So the receiving players, you can have it any team particular. So yeah, you'll need all right there. So if you want all players to receive the same items, if you want the triggering player only, the triggering team only, or anybody on these teams. So we're going to have it set to all because it doesn't really matter for what we're doing. You can have it clear the inventory. You can grant the current item or all items. You want it set to all items, because what you'll notice is that the items you drop in the granter will be on like a little timer. It will show up for like a shotgun for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then something else will show up, and then how many ever items it'll cycle through them consistently. If you have it set for just the current item, whatever is up at the time of when it grants it is the only item it will get. They will not get everything. So make sure that is set to all items. Grant condition always. You can have it only if empty, only if space allows, or whatever. We're just going to do always. Grant on a cycle. You do not want this on. You want this set to no. What this will do is, like every time it cycles to a different weapon, it'll just grant that weapon as it cycles. You don't want that unless you do want it for a specific thing. Equip the granted item. You can choose to have them equip if you want to. That's up to you. That's kind of more preference than anything else. And then if you do choose yes, you can choose which item. You can choose the first item, the second item, or so on and so forth. So I'm going to say no. You can have it remove items on grant, or from the granter. So basically, if there is an item in there when it grants the item, it will take it out of the item granter. You don't want that on unless you want it to only spawn or grant so many items each time. So the cycle behavior, this is like when they're scrolling through their weapons later. Do you want it to stop, or do you want it to keep wrapping around like normal Fortnite? We're going to leave it on wrap. It is default to stop, so I will set that to wrap. You can have it drop items and the inventory is full, never, always, or whatever. So I'll just have it if the inventory is full. So if they have a full inventory, it'll just drop the items it grants on the ground at their feet. And then the ownership is of the receiving player, or it can be all. This is basically if you have it set to where only certain people can pick up the weapons. So like if it's your weapon, somebody else can't come and take it. So if you have it set to receiving player, then that nobody else can come pick up that gun or whatever it is. So you can have it set to all if you want other people to pick it up. For this video, it doesn't really matter. This is kind of a preference thing, unless you basically, if you have a prop hunt and it grants a prop-o-matic and it drops it on the ground, a hunter person could pick it up. But it doesn't really matter for this particular video. And then grant items on game start is turned off, unless you want them to start with the weapons, which you probably do not, because then they can kill each other inside their thing unless you make some other changes. So with that being said, we are going to have a input trigger grant item when receiving from. You can do this several different ways. I'll show you one way and then I'll show you another way. So we're going to do grant item when receiving from that teleporter on teleported. Okay. So now we just need to pick an item to give them. That's not what I wanted. Find some weapons. Let's just give them something pretty. So I'll just give them that. And a bow. Why not? Just so they have something to give them. And then you literally just drop it in, make sure it goes in, and then drop the next item, make sure it gets sucked up too. There we go. So now how it cycles through these. If you had it to grant on cycle, every time that it would switch to something, it would give it to them, which is really annoying in my opinion. But if that's the way you want it for a particular weapon or a game, that's totally fine. So we got this set up. So now the timer will count down, trigger the mutator zone, teleport everybody to the rift, and then they'll receive those two items that we just placed. Let's see what it does. In theory, that should be how it works. Okay, so I'm hanging out here, minding my own business. Oh, I teleported to the rift, and now I have my guns. Works great. Okay. Now we're going to do it a different way. Instead of using it on teleportation, we're going to set it on a timer. So we're going to come here, mess with this. That's kind of annoying. Whatever. Okay, so we're going to make a separate timer device just for granting the weapons. And we're going to have it set on a 3-second timer. Okay. Yeah, 3 seconds is fine. Start again, make sure it's not on. That's fine. You can modify your timer device. It's pretty in-depth. Making the timer visible, making it not visible, where you can see it in the HUD and all that good stuff. But we are not going to mess with any of that for this. We're just going to start when receiving from what I want. We can do the other timer device on success. We can do player spawner, pregame mutator, pregame teleporter. Teleported. There's lots of different ways you can have it trigger. We're just going to pick, let's just do the timer device, off a timer device. There we go. Okay. So now we have this timer that counts down whenever somebody spawns in. When the game starts, it'll trigger the mutator zone, teleporting them there, and also counting this other 3-second timer and granting everybody their stuff. So let's check this one out. Okay, so hanging out, 3 seconds later, and this one shows up, and then there's my weapons. I wasn't paying attention, did I actually? I meant to restart this. Because I shouldn't have spawned, shouldn't have teleported with my weapons. I should have got them 3 seconds later, but it seemed pretty instant. It is. There's something off. Does it still have a trigger on it? Oh, because it's set from that. Okay. Wait, I don't know. That's supposed to be right. No, hey, get back here. Okay. It's still on that. I want it for the timer device. Oh, I made the timer device and never changed the trigger. Okay. So I made the output trigger, but not the input trigger. So start when receiving from timer device on success. On success. Oh, I did that wrong. Okay, on success, send an item grantor and grant item. There we go. We found the problem. Okay, so I should hang around for 3 seconds, spawn, there it is. I don't have my items, and I'm not getting my items. I don't understand. Get the pregame timer and the timer device. On success, grant the item. It should be working. I don't understand why it's not. Oh, because the timer's not counting down. I guess I messed up the timer starting. Yeah, I did. Okay, well that explains a lot. Alright, so now I got that set up. Trial and error. A lot of trial and error. There it goes. And there's my items. Excellent. Okay, cool. So that's all working. So that is how to cover a lot of spawning issues. There's lots of ways you can spawn people in. This is the most effective way that I've seen to cover a broader area. If you want a bunch of people to be teleported at the same time to one area or multiple areas. If you're playing by yourself, you will always default to team 1. So if you have team 1 here and then team 2 there, you will always default to team 1. So you could testing multiple teams is very, very difficult if you're playing by yourself. So grab some friends and then mess around and make sure everything's working properly if you have multiple teams. But as for that, that should cover anything to do with the spawning of using a mutator zone, timer devices, and item granters. So if you have any questions, you can follow me on Facebook at bar.gaming. And thanks for watching, everybody, and happy creating.